The gunshot cracked through the cold Seoul night, and everyone froze, except him. Dae-Hyun didn't even flinch. He simply adjusted his cufflinks, eyes dark and unreadable, as the man who had tried to ambush him collapsed at his feet. Blood spread across the pavement, but Dae-Hyun stepped over it like it was nothing. "Clean it," he said calmly. His men rushed forward, but their fear wasn't for the scene. It was for him. Because Kang Dae-Hyun wasn't just powerful, he was unpredictable. And that was exactly why no woman could stay. 10 women. 1 month. All gone. Hyung, this one lasted 3 days, his bodyguard muttered earlier that week. Run. Days too long, Dae-Hyun replied coldly. Every woman who came into his life either cried, ran, or begged to leave. His intensity suffocated them. His silence terrified them. His world was too dangerous, too sharp, too real. So when Jeed, his Nigerian bodyguard, smirked one evening and said, "I know someone who won't run," Dae-Hyun barely looked up. "I'm not interested in another liability." "She's not a liability," Jeed said. "She's a storm." That was how Amara walked into his life. Late, unapologetic, unafraid, she pushed the office door open like she owned the building, her braids falling over her shoulders, her eyes scanning the room like she was sizing up prey. "You're the scary boss everyone keeps crying about?" she said. The room went silent. One of the guards stepped forward angrily, but Dae-Hyun raised a hand. For the first time in weeks. He smiled. "Sit," he said. Amara didn't move. "Or what?" she shot back. And just like that, everything changed. If you're already hooked, don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe, because this story is only getting started. Dae-Hyun leaned back slowly, studying her like she was a puzzle no one had solved before. Every other woman had either trembled or tried too hard to impress him. But Amara? She stood there like she had nothing to lose. "I said sit," he repeated, his tone calmer this time, but heavier. Amara finally walked forward. Not rushed, not hesitant, just steady. She pulled the chair and sat, crossing her legs like she was the one conducting the interview. "Let's not waste time," she said. "You need a PA. I need money. But I don't do nonsense," one of the guards scoffed. "Watch your mouth." Amara didn't even look at him. "Or what? You'll bark louder?" Dae-Hyun's lips twitched again. That almost never happened. "Why haven't you run yet?" he asked. Amara shrugged. "From what?" "You. Please. I've seen worse in Lagos traffic." That caught him off guard. "You're not scared of me?" She leaned forward slightly, her eyes locking with his. "Should I be?" The room felt tighter, charged. Dae-Hyun stood up and walked toward her slowly. His presence alone had made grown men drop to their knees, but Amara didn't move an inch. He stopped right in front of her. "People fear me for a reason," Amara tilted her head. "And people exaggerate for a living. So which one are you?" For a split second, no one breathed. Then Dae-Hyun turned away. "Jeed," he said, "she starts tomorrow." The guards looked shocked. "Boss, are you serious?" one of them asked. "She hasn't even—" "I said she starts tomorrow." Amara smirked, standing up. "Good, because I don't repeat interviews." She turned and began walking out. "Amara," Dae-Hyun called. She paused but didn't turn. "If you run," he said quietly, "I won't chase you." She glanced back slightly, a small smile forming. "Relax, I don't run, I make people run," and just like that, she walked out of the room like she had just signed a deal with the devil, and wasn't afraid of the consequences. The next morning, chaos followed her in. Amara arrived early, but not in a way anyone expected. She walked into the building chewing gum, holding a coffee she clearly didn't pay for, and greeted the guards like she had known them for years. "Morning, gentlemen. Try not to look so tense, it's bad for your skin." They stared at her, like she was insane. Inside the office, Dae-Hyun was already waiting. "You're late," he said without looking up. Amara checked the clock. "I'm 5 minutes early." "You should be 10 minutes early." She dropped her bag on the desk. "Then you should have told me yesterday." Silence. Then, "Your first task," Dae-Hyun said, sliding a file toward her, "is to organize my schedule." Amara flipped it open, scanned it, then closed it. "This is a mess." His eyes slowly lifted. "Excuse me? You heard me? Half of these meetings are useless, and the other half will get you killed if you're not careful." The guard stepped forward again, but Dae-Hyun raised his hand. "Explain." Amara walked around the desk, pointing at different entries. "This guy?" She tapped a name. "He's stalling you." Another. "This one? He's planning something." She tossed the file back on the desk. "And this meeting tonight? That's not a meeting, that's a setup." The room went cold. "How do you know that?" Dae-Hyun asked. Amara shrugged. "Street instincts. You don't survive where I come from by being clueless." Dae-Hyun stared at her longer this time. Then slowly, he nodded. "Cancel the meeting." The guards exchanged looks. That meeting had been planned for weeks. Amara smiled slightly. Smart man. That night, news came in. The location of the meeting had been raided. Everyone there was arrested, or worse. Jeed walked into Dae-Hyun's office, shaking his head. "She saved you." Dae-Hyun leaned back, thoughtful. "She didn't save me," he said quietly. She proved herself. Meanwhile, Amara was in the break room, arguing with one of the staff over food. I said I don't like bland rice, she snapped. Add spice. Life is too short to eat boring things. From the doorway, Dae-Hyun watched her. For the first time in a long time, something unfamiliar stirred inside him. Not fear, not control, something else, and it made him dangerous in a completely different way. Dae-Hyun didn't sleep that night, not because of enemies, not because of business, because of her, Amara. He sat in his office replaying every word she had said, every look she had given him. It didn't make sense, nothing about her did. She didn't fear him, didn't respect his power in the way others did, and yet, she wasn't reckless either. She was calculated, and that made her dangerous. The next morning he found her already inside his office, feet on his table, going through his files. Good morning to you too, she said without looking up. Dae-Hyun shut the door behind him slowly. You're bold, Amara flipped a page. You're disorganized. That's my table, and that's your problem. He walked closer, stopping just behind her chair. Most people would be dead for less. She finally looked up at him, her eyes sharp. Most people aren't me. Silence stretched. Then, Dae-Hyun pulled the chair beside her and sat down. Talk, he said. Amara blinked, slightly surprised. Then she smirked. All right, you have too many enemies, too many fake allies, and not enough people who tell you the truth. And you're the truth? He asked. I'm the upgrade, she replied. For the first time he let out a quiet chuckle. Jide, standing outside the door, nearly choked. Inside, Amara pushed another file toward him. You have a deal coming up with the Park Group, she said. They don't trust you. They don't need to. They do, she countered. Because this deal requires something you don't have. Dae-Hyun raised an eyebrow. And what is that? Amara leaned back, crossing her arms. Stability. He didn't like that word. Explain. They think you're too volatile, too unpredictable. No family, no visible loyalty, no emotional anchor. That scares investors. Dae-Hyun's jaw tightened slightly. So, Amara continued, you need to look settled. He stared at her. I don't do fake. Amara smiled slowly. But you do business. That was the moment it clicked. You're suggesting, he started. A fake fiancé, she finished. The air shifted instantly. Dae-Hyun leaned back, studying her again, but this time differently. You? He asked. Who else? She shot back. You think any of those girls that ran away would survive one dinner with your partners? He almost smirked again. You're confident. I'm correct. He stood up, walking toward the window. This isn't a game, he said. If you step into that role, you step into my world, fully. Amara stood too, walking up beside him. I've been surviving worse worlds before I met you, she said quietly. That hit deeper than expected. He turned to face her. And if you break? She shrugged. Then I break. But I won't run. Something in his chest tightened. Fine, he said. You're my fiancé. Amara clapped her hands once. Good. Let's make them believe it. That evening, everything changed. Amara walked into the high-profile dinner like she owned the room. Her dress was simple but elegant, her confidence louder than anything money could buy. Every eye turned, not just because of her beauty, but because she stood beside Dae-Hyun without fear. Whispers spread. That's her? She's different! At the table, one of the executives smirked. So this is the woman who tamed you? He said mockingly. Before Dae-Hyun could respond, Amara leaned forward. No, she said calmly. He's not tamed, I just understand him. The table went quiet. Dae-Hyun watched her closely. She didn't flinch, didn't hesitate, didn't pretend, and somehow, she made it real. As the night went on, the tension eased. The deal started shifting in Dae-Hyun's favor. For the first time in months, things were going smoothly, until she showed up. His ex. Elegant, bitter, dangerous. She walked straight to their table, eyes locked on Amara. So this is the replacement? She sneered. Amara looked her up and down slowly. Replacement? No, upgrade. A few people gasped. The ex laughed coldly. You think you can just come in and take what's mine? Amara stood up slowly. What exactly is yours? She asked. The woman stepped closer. Amara glanced at Dae-Hyun briefly, then back at her. You mean the man you couldn't handle? She said bluntly. The tension exploded. You little... The ex raised her hand. But before it could land, Amara caught it midair. The entire room froze. Then, in one swift motion, Amara turned, dragged her toward the side, and dumped her straight into a nearby trash bin. The sound echoed. Silence followed. Absolute silence. Amara dusted her hands calmly. Take out the trash, she said. No one moved. Except Dae-Hyun. He stood there staring at her. Not angry, not shocked, impressed, deeply impressed. Slowly, he began to clap. Once, twice, then stopped. Dinner is over, he said. We have a deal to close. And just like that, everything shifted. As they walked out together, the whispers followed them. But this time, they weren't about fear. They were about power. And for the first time, Dae-Hyun wasn't walking alone. If this part got you smiling or shocked, go ahead and like this video right now, and tell me in the comments, would you have done the same thing Amara did? Because trust me, this is only the beginning. The moment the car doors shut, silence wrapped around them. But it wasn't the same silence as before. This one was heavy, charged. Dae-Hyun didn't say anything at first. He just sat there, his eyes fixed on Amara, like he was trying to understand what she had just done. Amara, on the other hand, leaned back like it was another normal evening. What? She said casually. She was disrespectful. That was my ex, Dae-Hyun replied. And? Amara shot back. Do you want me to go apologize and bring her out of the trash? Jade, sitting in the front seat, coughed to hide his laugh. Dae-Hyun exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. You embarrassed her. Amara tilted her head. No, she embarrassed herself. I just helped her find her level. For a second he tried to stay serious. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. It was low, rare, and completely unexpected. Jade's eyes widened in the mirror. He had never heard that sound before. You're insane, Dae-Hyun muttered. Amara grinned. And yet, your deal is secured. That shut him up, because she was right. By the time they got back to the mansion, the news had already spread. Messages were pouring in, calls, confirmations, the deal was done. But something else had changed too. Inside the house, Dae-Hyun poured himself a drink. Amara walked past him like she belonged there, kicking off her heels. You drink too much, she said. You talk too much, he replied. She turned to him. You like it. He paused. That look again, the one that lingered longer than it should. Careful, he said quietly. You're starting to sound comfortable. Amara walked closer, stopping just inches away from him. Maybe I am, she said. Their eyes locked. Something shifted. Not business, not strategy, something personal. Then she stepped back suddenly, breaking the moment. Relax, she said lightly. It's just part of the act, remember? But Dae-Hyun didn't respond. Because for the first time, he wasn't sure it was an act anymore. Days turned into weeks, and the fake relationship, it stopped feeling fake. They argued like fire and fuel. You don't listen, Amara snapped one afternoon. I listen. I just don't agree, Dae-Hyun shot back. That's not the same thing. And you think you're always right? I know I'm always right. Jeed watched from the corner, shaking his head. This is not a relationship. This is war. But somehow, it worked. Amara reorganized his entire operation. She cut off fake allies, exposed hidden enemies, and built systems that made his empire stronger. And Dae-Hyun? He started changing too. Not weaker, sharper, more controlled, because now he had something to protect. Her. One night, everything almost fell apart. Dae-Hyun walked into a meeting alone. Against Amara's advice. I don't trust this, she had warned. It's handled, he said. It's not, she insisted. But he went anyway, and he walked straight into a trap. Gunmen surrounded him. Cold eyes, loaded weapons. End of the road, Dae-Hyun. One of them sneered. For the first time in a long time, he was outnumbered, outplayed, or so they thought. Because just as the tension peaked, the lights went out. Chaos exploded, shouts, movement, confusion. Then, a voice cut through the darkness. Miss me. Amara. She moved like a shadow, fast, precise, fearless. One by one, the attackers dropped. Not sloppy, not lucky, calculated. Dae-Hyun watched her, stunned. She wasn't just brave, she was dangerous. Within minutes, it was over. The room was silent again. Amara stood there, breathing slightly, her eyes scanning for any remaining threat. Then she turned to him. You really don't listen, she said. Dae-Hyun stepped closer. You came. Of course I came, she replied. You're my job. But her voice softened at the end. Just a little. He noticed. I had it under control, he said. Amara rolled her eyes. You were seconds away from becoming a memory. He smirked faintly. And you saved me. She crossed her arms. Don't make it a habit. Silence settled again, but this time, it wasn't tense. It was something else, something deeper. Dae-Hyun stepped closer. Too close. You risked your life, he said quietly. Amara held his gaze. I've done worse for less. That's not what I mean. Her expression shifted, slightly. What do you mean? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached out, his hand brushing lightly against hers. Electric, unexpected, real. Amara didn't pull away, but she didn't lean in either. This is dangerous, she said softly. I know, he replied. Then don't start something you can't control. Dae-Hyun's eyes darkened. I don't want to control it. That hit, hard. For a moment, her walls cracked, just a little. But it was enough. She stepped back. This, she said, gesturing between them, this is not real. Dae-Hyun didn't argue, but he didn't agree either. Because deep down, he knew something she wasn't ready to admit yet. This wasn't fake anymore. Not even close. If you're feeling the tension building, go ahead and hit that like button right now. And tell me in the comments. Do you think Amara is falling for him too? Because that's where everything changes. The rain started pouring before they even left the building. Neither of them spoke as they walked to the car. The tension between them wasn't loud, but it was there, thick and impossible to ignore. Inside the car, Amara turned to the window, watching the raindrops race each other down the glass. Dae-Hyun watched her instead. "You almost got yourself killed," she said finally, her voice low. "And you came anyway," he replied. She scoffed softly. "Don't make it sound like something it's not." "Then what is it?" he asked. Amara didn't answer immediately, her jaw tightened slightly. "It's work," she said. "That's all." Dae-Hyun leaned back, studying her. "You're a terrible liar." That made her turn. "I don't lie," she said. "You deflect." Their eyes locked again. This time neither of them looked away quickly. "You think you know me?" she asked quietly. "I know enough," he replied. Amara shook her head. "You don't know anything. Then tell me." Silence. The kind that sits heavy in your chest. Then she laughed, but it wasn't her usual confident laugh. It was softer. Tired. "You really want to know?" she asked. "Yes." She hesitated. For the first time since he met her, she hesitated. "I grew up with nothing," she said slowly. "No safety, no backup, just instincts." Dae-Hyun didn't interrupt. "If you trust the wrong person where I come from, you don't get a second chance," she continued. "So I learned early, don't depend on anyone." "That includes me?" he asked. She looked at him directly. "Especially you." That should have annoyed him, but it didn't, because he understood. "I'm not asking you to depend on me," he said. "I'm asking you to stop running from what's right in front of you." Amara's expression hardened slightly. "And what exactly is that?" "This," he said, his voice quieter now. Again that space between them felt smaller. More dangerous, more real. Amara looked away first. "You're used to control," she said. "This? You can't control it. I told you before," he replied. "I don't want to." She let out a slow breath. "That's the problem. The next few days were different. Less arguments, more silence, but not empty silence. Something was building, something neither of them wanted to name. Until it exploded. It happened late one night. Amara was in the living room, going through documents, when she heard raised voices outside. Jide burst in. "We have a problem." Dae-Hyun followed right behind him, his expression darker than usual. "What happened?" Amara asked, standing up. "One of our inner circle betrayed us," Jide said. "Information leak." Amara's eyes narrowed. "Who?" Dae-Hyun didn't answer immediately. Then, "They're asking for you," he said. The room went still. Amara blinked. "Me?" "They believe you're the reason I've been making smarter moves," Dae-Hyun explained. "They want leverage." Amara laughed once, dry. "So they think kidnapping me will weaken you?" "It will," Jide said bluntly. Silence. Dae-Hyun shot him a look, but he didn't deny it. Amara folded her arms. "Then we don't give them the chance." "It's not that simple," Dae-Hyun said. "It is," she replied. "We strike first." He shook his head. "Too risky." Amara stepped closer. "Doing nothing is riskier." "I'm not losing you," he said sharply. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Silence followed. Heavy, real. Amara stared at him. "You don't get to say things like that," she said quietly. "Why not?" "Because this is temporary," she replied. "Remember?" Dae-Hyun stepped closer. "It stopped being temporary a long time ago." Her heart pounded, but her face stayed composed. "No," she said. "You just don't like losing control. And you don't like feeling anything," he shot back. That hit. Hard. For a moment neither of them spoke. Then Amara turned away. "We need a plan," she said. Dae-Hyun exhaled slowly, forcing himself to refocus. "Fine," he said. "We draw them out." The plan was simple, too simple, which made it dangerous. Amara would act vulnerable, alone, an easy target. "I don't like this," Jide muttered as they set everything up. "You don't have to like it," Amara replied. "You just have to be ready." Dae-Hyun pulled her aside. "If anything goes wrong—" "It won't," she interrupted. "You don't know that." She looked at him, softer this time. "I trust you," she said. That surprised him, more than anything else. "You said you don't depend on anyone." "I don't," she replied. "But I trust your ability to protect what's yours." His gaze deepened. "And you're mine?" he asked quietly. Amara held his eyes. For a second, she didn't answer. Then she stepped back. "Focus," she said, but that silence, that hesitation, it said everything. The trap was set. Night fell. Amara walked alone through the empty street, her steps calm, her senses sharp. She didn't need to look over her shoulder to know they were watching, waiting. Then, a van pulled up, fast, too fast. Before anyone could react, she was grabbed, pulled inside, the door slammed shut, and everything went dark. Back at the control point, alarms went off. Jide stood up instantly. They took her. Dae-Hyun was already moving. His expression? Cold, lethal, different. "Lock in the location," he ordered. "They're heading east. Prepare the team." Jide hesitated. "Boss? This could be a trap." Dae-Hyun picked up his gun. "It is a trap," he said. Then his eyes darkened further. "But they made one mistake." "What's that?" Jide asked. Dae-Hyun's voice dropped. "They took something that belongs to me, And in that moment, everyone knew this wasn't business anymore. This was personal. The van screeched to a halt, and before Amara could fully adjust her balance, the door was yanked open. Rough hands dragged her out, but she didn't fight. Not yet. Her eyes were sharp, calculating every movement, every face, every exit. "Careful," one of the men muttered. "She's not normal." Amara almost smiled. They pushed her into an abandoned warehouse. Dim lights flickered. The air smelled like rust and bad decisions. Finally, a voice echoed. She looked up. A man stepped forward slowly, clapping his hands. "I've heard a lot about you," he said. Amara tilted her head. "I wish I could say the same, but you look like every other mistake I've survived." The men around her shifted uncomfortably. The leader's smile twitched, still confident. "Even now, especially now," she replied. He circled her like a predator, but Amara didn't flinch. "You've been very useful to Dae-Hyun," he continued. "Too useful. I charge for my services," she shot back. "You can't afford me." That earned a few quiet laughs from the men. The leader's face hardened. "We'll see how funny you are when he doesn't come for you." Amara's eyes darkened slightly, but her voice stayed steady. "He'll come. You sound sure." "I am." The man leaned closer. "And what makes you so special?" Amara smiled faintly. "I'm not special." A pause. "I'm necessary." Across the city, engines roared. Dae-Hyun's convoy cut through the night like a storm. His grip on the gun was steady, but his mind wasn't. Every second felt longer, every thought sharper. Jeed glanced at him. "We'll get her back." Dae-Hyun didn't respond immediately. Then, "I'm not going there to get her back," he said quietly. Jeed frowned. "Then what are we doing?" Dae-Hyun's eyes turned cold. "I'm going there to make them regret touching her." Back in the warehouse. Tension built. One of the men stepped forward, grabbing Amara's arm roughly. "Boss, let's just—" Before he could finish, Amara moved, fast, precise. She twisted his wrist, flipped him over, and slammed him to the ground in one clean motion. The room erupted in chaos as the others reached for their weapons, but the leader raised his hand. "Stop!" Silence fell again. He stared at Amara, impressed despite himself. "You're full of surprises." Amara shrugged. "You should have done your research." He chuckled darkly. "Oh, I did." Then his expression shifted. "That's why I know. You care about him." Amara's face didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Small, but there. The leader noticed. "Interesting," he murmured. Amara smirked again. "Don't read too much into things. It'll confuse you." But before he could respond, gunshots echoed outside. Loud, rapid, controlled. The men inside tensed instantly. "What the—" Then the doors burst open, and everything changed. Dae-Hyun walked in. Not rushed, not wild, controlled, deadly. Behind him, his men flooded the space, taking positions in seconds. The room froze. The leader smiled slowly. "Right on time." Dae-Hyun didn't even look at him. His eyes were locked on Amara, checking, scanning, making sure she was okay. She held his gaze. "I told you he'd come," she said calmly. That was all it took. Dae-Hyun stepped forward. "Slow, dangerous. You took something that doesn't belong to you," he said. The leader laughed. "And what is she to you?" Silence, heavy, real. Dae-Hyun didn't hesitate. "She's mine." The words hit harder than any weapon in the room. Amara felt it. So did everyone else. The leader's smile faded slightly. "Then let's see how far you're willing to go." Before he could finish, Dae-Hyun moved. Everything exploded into motion. Gunfire, shouts, chaos. But through it all, one thing was clear. Dae-Hyun wasn't holding back. Not tonight. He fought like a man who had nothing to lose and everything to protect. Amara broke free in the chaos, moving beside him like they had done this 100 times before. Back to back. Perfect sync. "Miss me?" she said between movements. Dae-Hyun didn't look at her. "You talk too much," she smirked. "You're welcome." Within minutes the balance shifted. The enemies fell, one by one, until only the leader remained. He backed away slowly, breathing hard. "This isn't over," he warned. Dae-Hyun stepped closer. "It is for you." The man reached for a hidden weapon, but stopped, because Amara was already behind him. "Bad decision," she whispered. He froze. Dae-Hyun raised his gun. Silence. Then, a single shot, and it was over. After everything settled, the warehouse fell quiet again. Dae-Hyun turned to Amara. "You're hurt," he said. "It's nothing," she replied. "It's not nothing." She shrugged. "I've had worse." He stepped closer, his hand gently lifting her chin. "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Acting like you're not affected." Amara held his gaze. "I'm still standing," she said softly. "So am I," he replied. Silence wrapped around them again. But this time, it was different. No walls, no pretending, just truth. Dae-Hyun's voice dropped. "When I thought I lost you." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Amara's expression softened slightly. "You didn't," she said. "I almost did." Their eyes locked. Closer, closer. "Why did you come for me?" she asked quietly. Dae-Hyun didn't hesitate this time. Because I love you. Everything stopped. Time, breath, thought. Amara froze. Those words, they weren't part of the plan. They weren't supposed to exist. You don't mean that, she said, but her voice wasn't as strong as before. I do. This is just adrenaline. It's not. Silence. Heavy. Real. Amara stepped back slightly, her walls trying to rebuild. You don't get to say that and expect everything to change. I'm not expecting anything, he replied. I'm telling you the truth. She shook her head. Truth is dangerous. So is pretending, he said. That hit. Again. Hard. For a long moment she didn't speak, didn't move, didn't run, then finally, she looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she didn't hide. I don't know how to do this, she admitted quietly. Dae-Hyun stepped closer, but gently this time. You don't have to know, he said. Then what do I do? He held her gaze. You stay. Silence. A deep breath. Then, Amara nodded. Just once. I'll stay, she said, and in that moment, the war ended. But something else began. If this moment gave you chills, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe, because their story isn't over yet. The ride back was quiet, but not empty. Amara sat beside him, her shoulder lightly brushing his arm with every turn. Neither of them pulled away, neither of them spoke about what had just happened. But everything had changed. Dae-Hyun kept glancing at her, not in suspicion, not in control, but in something new, something steady, something that felt unfamiliar, yet right. Amara noticed. You keep staring, she said without looking at him. You keep pretending you don't notice, he replied. A small smile tugged at her lips. I notice everything. I know, he said. That answer lingered. When they got back to the mansion, the staff moved differently around them. The tension, the fear, it had shifted into something quieter. Respect. Curiosity. Jide leaned against the wall as they walked in. You two look like you just survived a war, he said. Amara walked past him. We did. Dae-Hyun stopped briefly. Double security. No mistakes. Jide nodded. Already on it. As Dae-Hyun turned to leave, Amara called out. You should rest. He paused. I don't rest. You should, she insisted. Even machines break. He looked at her over his shoulder. I'm not a machine. I know, she said softly. That's why I said it. That hit deeper than expected. Later that night, Amara stood on the balcony, staring at the city lights. Seoul stretched endlessly before her, bright and alive, but her mind was somewhere else. Footsteps approached. She didn't turn. You always come out here when you're thinking too much? Dae-Hyun asked. Better than pacing, she replied. He stepped beside her, leaning slightly on the railing. What are you thinking about? He asked. Amara exhaled slowly. Peace. He glanced at her. You don't look like someone who believes in peace. I didn't, she admitted. Not before. And now? She hesitated. Now I think, maybe it's possible. Dae-Hyun studied her face carefully. You've changed, he said. Amara smirked faintly. So have you... I was fine before... No, she said, finally turning to him. You were functioning. That's not the same thing. He didn't argue, because she was right. Silence settled between them again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt safe. I meant what I said, he spoke quietly. Amara's expression softened slightly. I know, and... She looked away briefly, then back at him. And I'm still here. That was her answer. Not words, not promises, but presence. And for him, that was enough. Days passed, and the storm around them slowly calmed. Business stabilized. Enemies went quiet. And for the first time in a long time, Dae-Hyun wasn't constantly preparing for war. Instead, he found himself watching Amara more. The way she moved through his world like she had always belonged there. The way she challenged him without fear. The way she made everything better. One afternoon, he walked into his office and found her sitting in his chair again. Feet on the table, going through his files. He stopped at the door. You're doing it again, he said. Amara didn't look up. Then stop me. He walked in slowly, but instead of correcting her, he leaned against the desk, watching her. You've taken over my life, he said. Amara flipped a page. Correction, I improved it. You're not wrong, she paused, glancing up at him. That wasn't the response she expected. You're admitting that? She asked. I'm learning, he replied. Amara smiled slightly. Look at you. Growth. Dae-Hyun shook his head faintly, but there was no irritation in it. Only something softer. Come with me tonight, he said suddenly. Amara raised an eyebrow. Business? No, then what? A place, he said. You'll like it. She studied him for a moment. You're being mysterious. You're being curious. She smirked. Fine, I'll come. That evening, the car didn't head toward any of his usual locations. Instead, it stopped near a quiet part of the city. No guards, no chaos, just calm. Amara stepped out, looking around. This doesn't look like your type of place, she said. Maybe I'm changing, he replied. They walked a short distance, until they reached a small rooftop overlooking the city. Simple, peaceful, beautiful. Amara leaned against the edge, taking it in. This is nice, she admitted. Dae-Hyun stood beside her. I used to come here before everything got complicated, he said. Amara glanced at him. And now? I stopped. Why? He looked out at the city. Because I didn't have a reason to come back. Amara's gaze softened. And now you do? She asked. Dae-Hyun turned to her. Yes. Silence. The kind that says more than words ever could. Amara held his gaze, her walls no longer as strong as they used to be. You're serious about this, she said quietly. I am. She took a deep breath. You know I'm not easy, she said. I know. I don't trust easily. I know. I don't do soft. Dae-Hyun stepped closer. I don't need soft, he said. I need real. That hit something deep inside her. For a moment she didn't speak, didn't move. Then slowly, she stepped closer too. Then you better be ready, she said softly. I am. This time, when their eyes locked, there was no hesitation, no pretending, no walls. Dae-Hyun reached for her hand, his grip firm but gentle. Amara didn't pull away. Instead, she held on. And in that quiet moment above the city, they chose each other, not as a deal, not as an act, but as something real, something powerful, something neither of them had planned, but both of them needed. 2 years later, everything looked different. The empire still stood strong, but it had evolved, more structured, more strategic, and surprisingly, more stable. But the biggest change? Amara. She stood in a modern office surrounded by screens, people, and energy. Her company had grown beyond expectations. A tech platform designed to help street kids find opportunities, education, and safety. The same streets that raised her. She was now changing them. She had walked in, shaking his head in disbelief. From fighting in alleys to running all this, he said, you really did it. Amara smiled. We did it. Dae-Hyun stepped in behind him. No, he said, you did it. She turned to him, her expression softening instantly. And you backed me, she replied. He walked closer, stopping right in front of her. Always. The room slowly cleared, giving them space. Amara crossed her arms playfully. You're still watching me like I might disappear. Dae-Hyun smirked slightly. Old habits. I'm not going anywhere. I know. And this time, he believed it. He reached for her hand again, just like he did that night on the rooftop. Only now, it wasn't uncertain. It was solid, real, permanent. Amara looked at him, a small smile forming. You know, she said, you're still intense, and you're still impossible. Yet here we are. Dae-Hyun nodded slightly. Here we are. He pulled her closer gently, resting his forehead against hers. No running, he said. Amara smiled softly. No running, and just like that. The feared Korean Mafia boss and the fearless Afro street girl didn't just survive each other. They built something stronger than power. Something deeper than control. Something real. Love. If you made it this far, go ahead and like this video, drop a comment and subscribe to the channel for more powerful love stories like this.